I just woke up, so today I figured we'd just talk about dreams. 10 minutes. So I just woke up and I had this really weird dream last night. That was like one of those really weird dreams that you have and you're like, probably shouldn't tell anyone about that. So I woke up thinking, well, what am I gonna make a video on today? So I figured, well, why not re-download this app and then read some of the old dreams that I entered into it. So the dreams I have in here from quite a while ago, and there's a few of them. There's not a whole lot, but there's a few. And it's amazing, actually. Like, I love having dreams. I just think it's so cool how your brain does that when you're sleeping. The amount of recall that you get after just writing a few of your dreams down is crazy. It got to the point where, like, here, I'll see what my first dream was. My first dream that I ever entered into it says, I buried some fake eggs in a vampire's coffin. That was it. And then the second dream that I entered into it, this is all the detail I remembered. Like, a couple paragraphs there. Okay, so this is the second dream that I entered. I'll just read it. I was running along a hillside path in the woods. There was a chain link fence that had been overtaken by vines and sticks. Later I found myself running atop the trees, and when I saw how dangerous it was and how weak some of the branches were getting, I decided to get down. But the current tree I was in was too big to straddle and slide down, so I made my way to a skinnier tree. As I made the transition, one of the branches I was grabbing broke while I swung from the remaining branch. I swung into a stick. The stick didn't hurt me because it broke from being weak. So hanging by one hand on a dead branch, I could tell I was about to fall, but I pulled myself up and grabbed the base of the branch. It was at this moment I realized I was wearing winter gloves, making it hard to grasp the tree. Because it was so hard to grasp, I used my wrist to pull myself up some. When I knew I wouldn't make it, I swung my legs around the trunk. This helped me get my grip. Now that I had my grip, I slid down the tree and got to the bottom, which to my surprise was only about 15 feet down. So that was interesting to have that dream, because this must have been a while ago, but we were having a family get together at my neighbor's house one day, and they have these huge trees in the backyard with like perfect branches and nubs everywhere for climbing. So I climbed up probably about 2 to 3 times the height of the house, and it seemed safe. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't, but I went to go grab one branch and I made sure to grab the base of it. But I climbed a lot of trees when I was a kid, so I'd grab one branch and I would never let go of my other hand unless I had my hand on another branch. So I grabbed the one and started to pull myself up, not letting go yet, and then that branch just snapped. So I fell, and it was like almost like I fell out from the tree, and I swung back into it, and there was like a stick there, like a dead stick, and it hit me right in the gut, and it broke, luckily. But I was sitting there hanging by one hand, and I remember looking down from the tree at the house and seeing my grandma just looking at me from the window, just mouth agape. This one was from 2 years ago. I had a dream I was dead, and I was in an old barn with a bunch of other dead people. There was a boy who was responsible for reincarnating all of us, but he didn't know how, so every day we'd line up and he'd try to reincarnate us. I almost came back as a plant. I also had a terrifyingly real dream that I was diagnosed with some kind of cancer, and I was sent back to the hospital. Alright, I feel like I remember more than I wrote down from that dream. It was pretty cool. Like, the hard thing about these dreams is that once you start remembering so much of the dreams, it becomes such a burden in the morning to sit there and type out multiple paragraphs, just because you want to write down every detail from the dreams so that your recall becomes better and better. And I remember this barn was like, it had rafters broken and stuff, and you could see through the ceiling and things like that. And everyone would line up, and the kid didn't know how to reincarnate people, so everyone was trying to help him do it, because obviously everybody was stuck in this like barn purgatory. It's really weird, but barns seem to be a weird theme in my dreams. This one is called Barns and Zombies. A group of others and myself were looking for a new place to live. As we emerged from the woods, we found it a beautiful field with a home adjacent to it. The only problem was that there was a ton of zombies in the field. My group and I followed a code from a small book written by a guy named Mcallister, who wrote that zombies were still people and you should only kill them if they were too far gone. We found Mcallister, the author of the book, high in the sky, impaled on a stick and set ablaze. A horde of zombies waited at the bottom for gravity to slowly pull him down the stick. Wow, that's a great dream. At that point, doubt spread across the group. Their idol was reduced to nothing. The group and I made our way through the field, killing every zombie in our path until we made it to the house, which was rebuilt to its former glory, and it was beautiful. That was maybe one of those dreams where I was like, I don't know if I should tell people about that. I think it's from just watching too much Walking Dead. Oh, there was this one dream that I had that I didn't write down because I didn't have the app at the time, but it was basically like there was this old movie theater underneath this old abandoned highway, like underground. It was really weird, and people lived there. It seemed like kind of post-apocalyptic, so people lived there, and I remember I was on top of a ladder trying to get this movie screen back up so we could all watch a movie, and then I remember reaching too far and then falling, and I ended up hurting my arm pretty bad, and it was unsalvageable. So I went to this like post-apocalyptic doctor, and I was sitting in his parlor, and sitting next to me there was this mechanical human automaton type thing, and so the doctor amputated my arm, and he hooked up my veins to this automaton's arm veins, and I remember like almost wanting to jump in my dream because I remember being connected arm to arm with this automaton, and then the automaton starting to fall over, and I could just feel it about to yank on my arm. So I was gonna try to catch it, but it was too late. It fell, and all like the wires and stuff ripped out of its arms, but were still attached to mine. And I guess that was supposed to happen because then the doctor took the robot's arm and attached it to the wires that were still attached to my stump arm. And then that robot arm became part of my arm, and it was like really cool. It was see-through, and that was pretty much it. I remember in the dream showing a couple people my cool robot arm. I won't end it there just because I feel like it's gonna be way too short that way. So since we are in this dark, spooky little room here, I'm going to find some spooky movies and show you my favorite ones because it's my video and I can do whatever I want. Psycho, the original Psycho, was a pretty important movie to me. So in 2016, in April, I brought over this girl to my house and we put up this projector and screen in my front yard, and I brought out my amp for my guitars and I plugged in the projector to the speaker, so we had like an outdoor theater. It was pretty sick, and Psycho was the movie that we watched. I thought that'd be a really cool movie to watch in the dark outside, so I watched that movie, and then I asked that girl if she wanted to be my girlfriend, and now, like 3.5 years later, she's downstairs and she's grumpy with me. The original It. I don't know which It I prefer, the new one or the old one. They're both good movies in their own ways. I think the adults in the new It did a better job of acting than the adults in the old It. The kids in the old It did a really good job. I think they did better than the adults. Okay, so the 3 movies that I have down here right now are probably my favorites. So we'll start with, it's kind of a horror movie, it doesn't really count, that's why I'm putting it so low, is Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead is like one of my favorite movies, period. I don't know if it'd be one of my favorite horror movies though. It's just so clever. Edgar Wright, his style is amazing, and I love watching the movies and rewatching the movies. These are obviously the type of movie that you can watch over and over again, and it gets better every time because you notice different things. Just the humor and Simon Pegg's acting, and I don't know, everything about it is great. An American Werewolf in London. This movie, when I saw it the first time, it ended, and I kind of thought, oh, that was kind of, I mean, it was good, but it wasn't, the ending kind of. But now that I watch it again and again, and the more I watch it, the more I want to watch it more, if that makes any sense. But just the 80s style effects and everything are actually really good for when this came out. And the ending is actually pretty fitting for how the story is. I don't want to spoil it because I actually think you should watch this movie. It's super good. Probably one of the best werewolf movies. I don't know if it's one of the best, if it has one of the best werewolf designs. For some reason, movies are really bad at coming up with werewolf designs. But the transformation scene is probably the best transformation scene in any werewolf movie ever. Probably my favorite horror movie ever is Donnie Darko. Again, I don't know if I would call it a horror movie. It's definitely in the horror genre, but it's not really scary. Well, as a kid, this scared the crap out of me because one of my biggest fears as a kid was the end of the world. And this movie, one of the main plot points is the end of the world. This was a movie that frustrated me beyond belief because I am often too prideful when it comes to movies, and I don't ever want to look them up. And like movies like this that kind of need some thinking, I guess. I didn't want to look it up. I tried to figure out what it kind of meant on my own, but after I did look it up, after I finally caved and looked it up, I realized that if I hadn't looked it up, I would have not gotten it at all. But that doesn't make it any less enjoyable to watch. It's still like a wild ride, and Jake Gyllenhaal is amazing, and I don't know, all the plot points are so good. A lot of the people in the movie you can like kind of see as caricatures of people in your life as well. I feel like a lot of people know people in this movie. Like the lady, the crazy education lady from the PTA. I can definitely tell you I've seen a lot of those people through my time in school. But those were all the movies that I wanted to share with you right now. I wanted a little more in this video than just the dreams. So if you enjoyed it, stick around for tomorrow or watch some of the old ones. I think if you enjoyed this one, you'll like those ones too. But if you didn't enjoy it, that's fine, because this video is kind of a tool to get more comfortable. Today was kind of more difficult to get comfortable in front of the camera than most days. Don't know why. Maybe it's because I was talking about dreams, weird brain things. So I don't know, but we'll see you tomorrow.